Well, hey. This is Dana Berg, Chief Operating Officer at Sata, coming today with another Cloud and Clear episode, one that I am super excited about, largely because I get to interview one of my newest leaders inside of SADA. I'll talk a little bit more about his role, but welcome John Campbell.
Thank you.
To Cloud and Clear.
Appreciate it.
John is our Vice President of Customer Success and Innovation. John, welcome.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here. I really like your outfit as well.
Yeah. For those that are looking at the video portion of this podcast, we just joined and we did not coordinate our wardrobe, but we are sporting the brand new, you can get it at your local department store, SADA fleece. And John was telling me it's pretty cold where he is, and so we're feeling very connected.
That's right. It's our uniform.
That's it. It is our uniform. Well, John, thank you, man, for coming. The reason why I'm so excited to have this conversation today on this episode, which is all about customer success, what we see in the marketplace, the future. We're going to talk about your background. We're going to talk about what we're seeing in the Google ecosystem as it relates to caring for existing customers. Hopefully, we'll dive in a little bit around what we see the future of customer success in your view and some of the things that you're planning, not just at SADA, but also what you're seeing in generally the marketplace and the subscription side of the business. And it couldn't come at a better time. I was just, listening to some of the Google presentations this morning and some of the sales kickoff presentations that they were doing. And they, along with us, are really emphasizing, okay, we do a lot of work up front to acquire new customers, and we do a lot to deploy them with professional services. But what comes next? Well, after the sale. And there's no question that the way that we as an organization and any company really treats their existing customers is probably the biggest characteristic that defines them as an organization. And I'm going to be very interested to hear how you think of that and how you're planning. But before getting into that, as we always do, John, please give the listeners a background of who you are and a little bit of your story. You have one of the most interesting backstories out of anybody that we've hired, and please give it to the listening crew.
Yeah, sure. So it all started in the year 1982. No, we'll go a little bit faster than that. So my undergraduate degree is actually in atmospheric sciences. So that's my bachelor's degree is in atmospheric sciences, meaning meteorology, basically. And so for 5 years after college, I was a TV meteorologist and reporter for TV stations in La Crosse, Wisconsin, and in Omaha, Nebraska. So two very interesting spots from a weather perspective and a weather nerd. So was very lucky to be in both those spots, versus being somewhere in Southern California like yourself, where it could just be exceedingly boring to be in the weather. So right. really lucky to be there. I also did news reporting as well. But after doing it for so many years, and just like, if you think about the hours those guys are working, it's not the best of the world.
Yeah.
And so decided, that I wanted to do something different. So
but wait, you're selling yourself short, right? So if you go onto YouTube right now and search John Campbell, everyone that's listening is going to be able to find your mug on TV doing the weather. You have
to be more specific. So you want John Campbell, meteorologist. So there's a famous John Campbell in New Zealand or Australia that's a TV personality as well. That's not me.
That's not you. Okay. Okay.
Me.
So listen, the joke is you were doing cloud. What? Well before.
Yeah. So that's my bad joke. I just switched clouds.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So, yeah. There we go. Good.
I was a meteorologist and then moved into the cloud world. It wasn't like, that wasn't my, when I was doing meteorology, I wasn't like, you know what, I'm tired of this cloud, got to move to the next one. So I was lucky enough to land where I was after meteorology. So my wife, who's from San Antonio, When she was done with school, with law school, we decided to move to San Antonio, and moved down here. Neither of us had jobs, so got down here and tried to figure out, what I was going to do. I had started going to school for an MBA, not because I strongly desired to have an MBA, but I was trying to prove to people that I could do more than just be a pretty face, which I wasn't that good at doing that either on TV.
Yeah.
So anyways, was going to school for my MBA, and ended up in San Antonio, and was lucky enough to get a job at a company called Rackspace, which was that was in 2009, and it was at that time a really fast growing managed hosting. So having our own data centers, and then we also had just started getting into something called cloud, which we had just recently launched there as well. So I started a job there. Was a entry-level account manager for about 200 accounts, and from there just moved to role from role. Prior to leaving, I was running product and service, running product, which was defining services like what customers would buy from a reseller of Amazon, Azure, and GCP. So we were doing all three of them, and I was trying to define the strategy and how we would go out and conquer the market, and what we would provide to customers, and what customers would find valuable at that point.
It's amazing. I love the background, the diversity. I love your stories that you've been teaching me of your time at Rackspace. We at SADA have always said that we have a lot of great worthy rivals in the ecosystem, and Rackspace has a legacy over the many, many years that it's been around of continually reinventing themselves and doing some things very, very differently. And we certainly have respected watching how Rackspace went from a very traditional managed service provider type of business into trying to figure out the cloud world, and that was one of the things that, certainly I was very excited about grabbing you to have you join SADA, because I was so impressed by a lot of the things that, they've done over the years. And, not least of which is this kind of philosophy that, in order to be very relevant in a managed service provider world, or even in a public cloud world, there's actually a lot of things that you are not in control of, because you're not now controlling the tech stack per se in a cloud world. You're not controlling the R&D investments that are going in there. So what are you able to control? So I'm assuming that led to certain things at Rackspace that, is very pertinent to this conversation and customer success. So like when you think about that, how do you stay relevant in a cloud world as a managed service provider?
Yeah, it's hard. If you think about, the interesting thing at Rackspace is when I started, it was mainly a managed hosting company with a small cloud. If you look at the evolution, it became very much focused, launching OpenStack, and becoming a player in the public cloud space, for a while being the number 3 cloud in the world. And then switching again to becoming a supporter of those, and really focusing back on the support message as well. The thing is like it's, the pace of innovation, the pace of change, not of like our part, which is required, but of the customers is just monumental. So when I started, I had a book of business of 200, 300 customers. I was in that entry-level account manager role for about 18 months or so at the time. And I would say largely the way that customers were operating at the beginning, and they were operating 18 months later, was basically the same. Like the customers, they were doing the same thing that they had done for a while, and it hadn't really shifted. There was, of course, a slower evolution. But man, you look at, say, like just the last 2 years and think about just how quickly stuff has changed in the last 2 years. The services introduced on part of all the big three cloud players, the different ways of thinking and operating, whether it's DevOps methodology or how you incorporate CI/CD pipeline to be part of your culture and how you operate as a company. I think there's those things that are shifting and changing, and then the underlying technology shifting and changing as well. That just creates a need for someone that's supporting those customers to be able to keep pace, and that itself is just monumentally difficult. Not only keep pace, but also keep pace with each customer. So you have customers that are doing things largely the same as they were 18 months ago, and then other customers that they want to reinvent themselves every 18 months, and they want your help doing it. And that really requires us, from a managed service provider and a services provider, to really come in there and help them and be what both of those customers need, because they're both large, they're both primary pieces of the market, and you can't leave either one of them out of it, because if you do, customers along the way won't be getting the services, won't be getting the things that they need. And if there's anything that's going to happen, the pace of change and the acceleration and all that stuff that's happening, it's not going to slow down. It's only going to increase. There's no signs of that pace changing, except only to increase at this point. And if you think about the rapid innovation that you see across Amazon, across Azure, and then across Google, and I think especially Google over the course of the past 2 years, it's just massive, and it requires us to basically not end-to-end reinvent ourselves, but to continue to keep up. Requires a lot of training, hiring the right people, getting the right people on the bus, and to do that is a challenge that we have to make sure we meet on a consistent basis.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, man, you have, you mentioned hiring the right people and hiring a lot of it. You actually have the badge of honor now, as we go into the 2021 plan at SADA, of having the most headcount in the 2021 plan.
Yes.
So,
but it's still, as a person approving my headcount, still half of what I originally requested. So
that's true. That's true. I did push back a little bit on certain things, but you have the lion's share. You have the lion's share.
Our HR leader asked if I was trying to kill the recruiting team. I wasn't. I was just asking for anything and everything. So
that's it. Right? We're going to give it to you. But it's funny. It's consistent with where we feel is the need right now, because SADA has thousands of customers. We need to make sure that there is no customer left behind. You run customer success and innovation, and when I think about those words and in the future of and these, customer success has been a kind of a buzzword for a while. It kind of onboarded with the introduction of subscription-based SaaS companies. It's somewhat been evolved over time, and now customer success is being used in lots of different businesses beyond per se just the traditional SaaS environment, because it doesn't take an MBA to realize that the cost of acquisition of customers is high, the cost of retaining them is generally lower, and to continue to support customers is ultimately what amplifies your brand more than anything else. I know that. When you think about customer success, and I think about this a lot, we have customers that are signing very large commitments with Google, and they're betting the farm on driving workloads in the cloud, in some cases a new platform, a new modality than they've ever done before. There's inherent fear, there's inherent risk, there's concerns. The world of managed services, of having to patch servers and upgrade OSs and things of that nature, aren't quite the same things there now in the cloud. There's a different set of concerns, and so success in the cloud is different than what success was for a traditional managed service company is. So, what are those things that customers are saying to themselves? What are they worried about? What are they expecting from places like us and and other people in the ecosystem? What do they need real help with?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is as I said earlier, dependent on the customer. Like if you look at how customers are operating in the cloud, you get the gamut of everything, right? You get customers that are looking to patch their servers and make sure there's antivirus installed and make sure the OS is on the latest. The treating to go back a few years in the analogy book, but treating them as pets, these virtual instances instead of cattle, and how other customers are thinking about them and treating them. Then you have other customers over here that those things aren't important because they'll make sure they have the latest OS, because when they spin up a new server, it's got the latest OS, and that stuff is not something that drives the value for the company, thinking through those things. And so like the first thing I think that from a customer perspective, the first thing that they choose is the technology typically. So they think, where am I going to go, right? Am I going to choose VMware? Am I going to choose AWS? Am I going to choose Google? My dog has opinions, if you can hear.
It's okay. It's all right. I love it.
And then how am I actually going to make this work? And so some of it is, well, I've got all this internal knowledge around Google, so of course that's my first choice. And some of it is, Google is the right platform, and now I need to go figure out make that work. And I think the primary thing that customers are looking for in those situations is a provider that knows what they're talking about, and that has the expertise and has the capabilities of extending that expertise back into the organization that they have. And so that's why on the GCP side for us, we've got a role called the technical account manager, which is just incredibly critical for us because that role, all of those individuals that fill that role come from a technology background. So we're looking for system administrators and DevOps engineers and consultants and those types of things that have done this and breathed it and lived it. And then asking them to basically move their expertise and extend it to others versus they may have operated those things themselves, but now we're asking them to move and extend it to others and make sure that they have time to stay at the forefront and get the certifications that are needed. And, whether it's BigQuery or Anthos or GKE, and make sure that they're experts there, because we know we have customers that are going to come in and start asking these questions. Anthos isn't that old, but if you come to SATA and you have an Anthos question and we fumble it around and we're not sure, man, I'm never going to use that company to get the expertise I need. And so it's critically important that, we're not able to just help customers that maybe they have an application that's still operating in the old way, but they've got another development team that's building a new thing. That we're here for both sides of the coin, and we can provide value for both sides of the coin as well. And I think when you think about companies that are also a little bit more mature, the question isn't how can we help them manage by sitting over here and dropping in. In the old days, managed services, like an alert, something's failed. Okay, then call the operations team. They're going to get on it. Well, now the operations and the development team are the same in a lot of cases. Yeah. So you can't just outsource a piece of that because the teams are the same. And so then you have to think about, how do I actually extend my team to an outsider? Not how do I outsource it, but how do I extend the team? How do I extend so that the people operating here at SATA that know all this stuff about Google and the technologies therein can actually just not drop in or outsource it, but can help my team and push my team further and accelerate my team. And that's very much different than the old model where operations could be outsourced. In the new model, operations can't be outsourced. What you can do is partner, and you can extend the team, but you can't, in a lot of cases, fully outsource it. And I think that requires a different way for us to think about how we actually support customers, whether that's through a professional services engagement or through ongoing managed services. It requires us to think about those things different. Or if it's just, how does the TAM, that are our reseller customers, how does that TAM operate, and what value do they provide on a consistent basis for customers as well?
Yeah. No, it used to be in this business, the name of the game years ago was to try and steal as much work that the customer could potentially do on their own and bring it into the partner channel so you could maximize revenue.
Yep.
Let's be clear.
Yeah.
The idea of cloud and the idea in general of digital transformation is all about empowering and enabling corporate organizations to turn on a dime, innovate, operate at the speed of thought. And a big part of that is training, is activating, enabling customers so that they can adapt and make these changes on their own. And I think that's part of what you've started to build in the teams, which is there's an element of fulfillment, both proactive and reactive, but then there's also this element of training and skill development. And you mentioned earlier, a degree of change management that we feel incumbent to try and help drive, so that that these teams on our customer side are feeling very self-sufficient when
Absolutely.
Each and every single quarter and year that they're with us, right?
Yep.
You're relatively new to SADA. You've been here 4 or 5 months. I know I aggressively tried to recruit you, and thanks for giving your trust in me. At SADA, there's lots of different functions that have to work, harmoniously together, in concert to create what can be the most effective customer experience. And I think they span lots of different things. One of the very first things that I know you did when you came in is looked at the organization and looked at all the different components of customer success and support. And you really kind of organized and reorganized them all under kind of one function. We tend to, on Cloud and Clear, be very open with how we're structured, and a lot of our competitors and partners in the ecosystem listen to this, and we like that because it ends up being good for the entire market. But not holding anything back, I think it's clear and good for us to share with our listeners how what are the functions of customer success at SADA. I think they're relevant for lots of different businesses, but I know you have 3 or 4 different teams that are working together. Explain those teams. What do they do? How do they work together? That would be great.
Yep. Yeah. So this is my role's new, and so this is kind of the first time we've pulled the company's pulled all the pieces that happen post sales, save for professional services. So basically 90% of the customer interaction post sales happens within my team. And so, there's professional services engagement. My team's engaged there as well. But and that's important because all of those cogs in the system need to be operating together in different ways. And we need to think about, and how they do that so that, we're not duplicating efforts or, we're sharing information about customers without, thinking about different silos and those types of things. So, the primary function of the organization is to provide support and handle support for GCP, Workspace, and then also Maps as well. And so we have a frontline support offering with that's staffed 24/7, 15-minute SLAs for priority 1 issues that we'll jump in and begin addressing. And that's staffed, with a group of folks that are SMEs in GCP, Maps, or within Workspace as well. And so that's kind of the front line, if you think of the frontline support. And then for our Workspace,
kind of the reactive side, right?
Yeah, exactly. So you got a question, something's down, there's something wrong, you need help right away. This is that's where that organization really comes in. The next piece is our customer success management organization, and so that piece is currently primarily looking at Workspace customers and helping handle renewals, helping answer billing questions. Not necessarily technical issues, but handling the relationship side of it, the account management type function. It's not sales, right? But the account management function, make sure the account is healthy and happy and doing what we need to do to make sure that customers stay in that state. We are actually in process of expanding that capability across our GCP base as well, because I believe it's critical for success of our customers to do that, because people that are really good, when you're with an organization that has a really good CSM. because like you are well taken care of, and there's never a doubt in your mind that there's an issue. You're going to get well taken care of. So I think it's critical that we extend that, and we're in the process of extending that across all of our Google Cloud customers. Our Google Cloud customers have another role, the technical account managers, which I talked about a little bit, but think of these guys as the technical consultants, the mainline SMEs for anything Google Cloud. Like, there's a good chance they know it, and if they don't know it, they'll find out and make sure that that either the next time you ask the question, they're experts in it, or make sure that there's someone on the line that can help you. Now, the idea of expanding the CSM role to partner with the TAMs only increases what I believe the value that we can provide to customers as well, because instead of the TAMs handling some of that relationship side, now I can have them fully dedicated to being technical, right? Like TAM with a capital T, and really go out there and hunt, find technical problems, issues, be proactive around those things, help solve those things. And really be at the forefront of our support and the value that we can really extend into our Google Cloud customers. And then spreading across kind of the entire account base, we have a client partner executive. And this role is really awesome in that there's only so many, call it executive sponsors, that a company can have. There's you and there's Tony and other folks around, but the client partner executive really helps us fill some of that executive sponsor roles, and making sure that, think of it as a CSM on steroids in some respects, and that they have a very small account base. They know a lot about their accounts, and they're making sure that those things are executing and functioning, and that the customer is generally happy. And then we even, we take that a little bit of a step further, and within the CPE team, we have industry aligned CPEs, and these are folks that have a very strong background within a specific industry. In healthcare or government or in our media and entertainment group. And so these guys can come in and not only help make sure a customer is being treated right, but like they understand the problems that those customers have because they've lived it and they've breathed it. And with their knowledge, we can actually help create a better value chain and a better experience for customers that are sitting within an industry that we have some of that CPE knowledge representing them as well.
Yeah, super good. I remember years ago, 20 years ago, when I was on the other side of the table as a customer, working in biotech. It was hard, in truth, to connect with a vendor when I felt like there was no understanding of the vocabulary and the business, right? It was tough. And I think, particularly now, with cloud and GCP, as we look to the variations of what workloads are being put into GCP, there are some commonalities that are cross industry, but so much of what is being put into the cloud and migrated in and how people are innovating in the cloud, so much of that is industry specific. So you've created industry teams around, telecommunications, media, and entertainment. You've created teams around public sector, life sciences, healthcare. I know you've got others on the roadmap for things like, retail or whatnot. It's going to be interesting to see how, we scale that and see how we can, create that industry knowledge along with the technical chops required as well underneath to make it happen. We had, in a few Cloud and Clear episodes before, Tony was hosting, we had Nick Mehta on, who's the CEO of Gainsight, and Gainsight happens to be a customer of ours and a partner of ours, and they run what's called a customer experience platform product, and I enjoyed that episode because the two, Tony and Nick were talking very much around, okay, how does a customer success organization scale? What's the role of the CSM? What's the role of the salesperson? What's the role of support, et cetera? And it got me thinking, for us and for any organization. We have a big customer base filled with thousands of customers across industry, big enterprise customers, some medium-sized, some small-sized. We don't have unlimited resources, although, as I said, you're we feel like we've got to make sure that no customer is left behind. Every customer gets the support and the help that they need. But of course, let's admit that there are, bigger customers that have, sometimes needs that require more time and energy. What do you see the future of customer success? How can we provide a degree of help, support, guidance, counsel, alerting, proactive type things as we look to an ever increasing customer base, both big and small? Like, where is it going?
Yeah. Well, I mean, clearly we can't, I doubt in 2022 you'll let me hire the same number of people I'm hiring this year. So,
right,
or maybe not the same percentage increase, I guess you could say. So, yeah. So
well, it depends on what you do with the hires this year. Maybe you never know. Maybe it'll be great.
I mean, clearly you have to scale, right? And I think part of our hiring spree is making sure there's you have to get to the right scale in the moment in order to continue to scale, if that makes sense. Like if you have everyone heads down, like a customer success organization that doesn't have time to think other than like, what's the next fire? What's the next thing I got to go put out? It's very hard for you to have them take a step back and say, how can I actually do these things more efficiently? Because that's not their mind frame, right? Like their mindset is like, there's more stuff in the queue. I got to go get the next thing. And when that happens, your capability of being proactive begins to wane as well. And so you have to have the right, balance of some free time, some thinking time, some training time, all of that stuff in order for the customer success organization to improve as you move forward. And so, I think a key piece of that is making sure that you're applying the right resources to the right spots, that you're finding ways, to be proactive for customers. If there's a change in behavior on behalf of a customer, like I want my team to know about it and understand it so that we can react to it. And that creates time and cycles that are required to go do that. Maybe they knew about it already, or maybe the customer made these changes, without us understanding it. And so we need to go figure it out and figure out how we can actually help them do those things as well. And so there's a need from a process and scaling and automation perspective that needs to be built in there as well. But to get there, my fundamental belief is that you have to be in a good spot to start and then build off there. And, I think there's a great foundation at SADA, not being here for a super long time. There's a great foundation to build off of, that's it's extremely customer centric in the way that we think and do things and the way that we operate. And I think that creates the capability to have that platform to scale, to find ways to automate, to make sure that we're, if you think of us parachuting in, and we're not just parachuting in when there's a fire, but we're making sure that we're going there to prevent the next fire from happening. And once you start that cycle, like, okay, there's an issue, or I've identified an area where there could be a problem, and you actually address it. So either it doesn't happen again or it never happens. Then you start getting more scale as well, instead of like, every time this alert happens, I got to go in here and do these 10 things. And then 3 days later, the alert happens again. We go in and do the 10 things again. Like that can't happen. Like we have to find ways to scale, to prevent problems, to remediate them so they don't repeat, so that in essence, we can provide that value to customers. And I want, our quarterly business reviews to say, you didn't have any problems this last quarter. We're talking about, what we're going to do the next quarter, or how to plan for this thing that you're doing. And we're not spending time talking about how we could have prevented X, Y, or Z from happening. And, I think for any customer success organization, that's a lofty goal to get to. But I think, especially in our area where like these are business critical applications, that we're hosting for customers, like if they go down, revenue's impacted. And so it is critically important for us to be there to make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's incredibly important. It's one of the great things about the subscription world, the cloud world, is that, the success of our customers is, equals in many respects the success that we have.
Yep.
And so the nothing is more aligned than, keeping customers happy. Our customers have choices. right? And they, as they rightly should, can choose to leave SADA at any time, and that's a choice that they should have, and it's great that they can make that choice very easily and freely, because it's a call to action for us to make sure that we're doing everything and anything that we can to show immense value. And you cannot show value unless you have a kind of an intimate connection with our customers on a level that shows a lot of knowledge about them. And I know you've recently, in the first month or two, your teams have deployed new voice of the customer listening campaigns to assess how they're doing. You're working on iterations of that to kind of detect and be a little bit more proactive as to maybe go after customers and identify areas where optimization can be made so that we can kind of get ahead of issues before they become issues. Those are all going to be the secrets to continued strength and connections with our customer. And so, John, I know I was pretty aggressive in trying to pull you over to SADA, and I appreciate you taking my calls and eventually taking the leap.
Yep.
I think you already have made a big impact, and I like how, in addition to you organizing the teams as you have, you've also been spending a lot of time with Google trying to understand their post-sale customer care framework and making sure that the plans that we're implementing are integrated with theirs. I look forward to seeing all the things that you and your team are going to be able to accomplish. I have all the confidence in the world that at the end, our customers are going to be what are the ones that are going to be winning in this whole endeavor. Any final words of thoughts in terms of what 2021 is looking like for you and your team and or SADA?
Hectic, crazy, but I would have it no other way. So idleness is not a good thing in this industry or this world. The Google Cloud Platform and Workspace, they've got the opportunity here, I think, this year to really prove to the market as a whole just how serious of players. I think over the last couple of years, it's really shown. It's only getting started. And so, one of the things that attracted me to this role, beyond just your heavy-handed recruiting, was the opportunity to come work in the Google ecosystem. Because I think the technology and the platform and the things that Google are doing is going to set the pace in a lot of ways for the market as a whole. And so that just makes me super excited. And of course, the opportunity to be around that ecosystem and being part of it and latching onto the rocket ship that SADA's had the opportunity to do and continues, I think is going to be it's going to be fun. That's the way to do it.
It's going to be a blast.
That's right.
It's going to be a blast. Well, Mr. Campbell, thank you, my man.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. I'm don't take offense to this, but I'm glad that your face was not pretty enough for TV.
It was a younger phase in that time too. So
okay, good. It's
and clean.
You're much better
shaven.
You're much better suited in podcasts, working in the technology field.
I've got a face for podcasting.
You got a face for podcasts. All right, buddy. Well, thank you, and thanks again for all your hard work, and thanks to the listeners for joining in and listening to John talk a little bit about the future of customer success here at SADA. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Cloud and Clear. Check the show notes for links to this week's topics. And don't forget to connect with us on Twitter @CloudandClear and our website, sada.com. Be sure to rate and review the show on your favorite podcast app.